Welcome to the HP Online Teaching Assistant, an initiative of HP Education. Today, we will explain how to use Google Meet for meetings with parents or family members of our students. Today, we want to show you how you can create these individualized meetings with your students' parents or family members through the Meet tool. And these are our objectives for today's session: to learn about the Meet interface, to organize individual meetings with parents, to know the meeting interface that parents will see. Let's get started. What is Meet? It is a Google video conferencing application which allows us to create meetings with students and members of the educational community, whether they are colleagues or students' family members. Right now, Meet is included into our Google Classroom, which runs pretty well. How can I create these meetings with families? We have 5 options. Option 1 would be to share the meeting code. Option 2, send by email the joining info of the meeting, that is, the URL of the session to which they need to connect. Option 3, which is to create a scheduled meeting and calendar. Option 4, which is to book an appointment with the teacher depending on availability. And finally, we have Option 5, which is to create a classroom with all the parents and send them directly the meeting. Well, once that's said, let's start with the training. This is my Google Chrome, and I already signed in with my Google account. So where are we going to look for the Meet app? Well, here in the 9 dots are all Google apps. This is Meet. And as a teacher, I'm going to start a new meeting from here. In this case, I'm going to call it Appointment with Anna's Parents. Be careful because you can't use special characters here. Click No, Continue. And here we have both the camera and the microphone. This can be disabled or enabled anytime. I'm going to disable both and click Join Now. This window that opens contains the information about the meeting that I just created. This is the URL of the meeting to share it, the number that people who want to join have to dial if they are going to join in by phone, and the PIN. We can close this window. In this tab are the details of this meeting, the same I just mentioned before, the URL, the phone number, and the PIN. I want to clarify here, the URL can be passed on as a whole, or copy this fragment from the /forward, and it would be the code for joining this. Then here, we can attach files in case we want to share them with Anna's parents. For example, we can share a performance report or some document with relevant information. As I said before, using these buttons, you can enable the microphone, end the meeting, or enable the camera. What other features does Meet have? I can enable subtitles and share my screen. Here I have 3 options: my entire screen, where I can select which screen I want to share, because I have 2, a window to show some specific program, for example, in Excel, Word, my email, or my browser, or I can share a Chrome tab, where I can select some of the tabs that I have open in my browser. Everything will depend on what I want to show. In the 3 dots here, I have more options and we can change the layout. This is how we could meet, for example, if there are several parents and I wanted to see everyone's face. I could use the tiled layout, we could also turn on full screen. From here, you could also turn on subtitles or captions. That is to say, when we speak English, subtitles are generated in real time so that people can read them. This works very well if in our audience we have people with hearing difficulties. We can also configure our audio and video, and this option is if we need to connect by phone. Here, we want to report a problem to Google. Then at the top, we have the participants. In this case, it's just me, and this is the chat, so you can write here if you want. Now let's put those options into practice of how to create the meetings. The first option was to share the meeting code for joining. As I mentioned before, the code only is from the /forward. Press the keys Ctrl+C to copy, and then we could mail it to Anna's parents or via WhatsApp. I'm going to open a new incognito tab as if I were a father. I type Google Meet in my browser. In Join a Meeting, I click, and here it asks for the meeting code. Then I paste it and join. Here, it would ask the same again for the microphone and camera. I'm going to split my screen in two so that we can see the teacher window and the parent tool. That's it. This one on the right is the parent's view, and the one on the left is the teacher's view. We continue in the parent's window, and as you can see, it asks to enter our name and ask to join. Now notice that in the teacher window, a notification appears that someone has requested to join my meeting. I may well deny entry or admit them. In this case, I will admit them. Now suppose Anna's father has activated his microphone while I'm talking. I could go where the participants are, hover over Anna's father and silence him, or I could also expel him from the meeting. Of course, this option is not quite recommended with parents and relatives, but good in case something ever happens, you know how to do it. We go to the second option, copy the entire link and send it by mail. Once the parent receives the mail, they only need to click on the link. What I'll do is open a new tab and I leave the meeting in the other window. As you can see in the teacher's window, the parent is gone. So I go to my incognito tab and paste the entire link, and it repeats the previous process. We remove or allow the microphone and camera. I type the name and join. As you could see, these two options do not require the parent to log in with their email account, but can log in directly with the code or link. Now let's go to our third option, schedule a meeting in the calendar. Where do we find Google Calendar? Just like where we found Meet in the 9 dots, which is where all the applications are found. These are all my calendars, and this would be my personal calendar. We are going to create a new calendar that is called Parent Appointments. To do this, we click on Add Other Calendar and Create New Calendar. We write here Parent Appointments. If you want, you can give a description as well, and create calendar. We got it. Now let's create a meeting, for example, for tomorrow. Add a title, Meeting with Anna's Parents. Since the day is set, click More Options so that all my options appear and is more comfortable to view. We must now define a time, maybe 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. If the meeting is face-to-face, we can enter a location here. But in this case, as it is by video, we click Add Google Meet Video Conferencing. As you can see, the meeting link appears. For now, we are only looking at how to create individualized meetings. We add a notification if we want both us and the parents to receive a notification or an email reminder of the meeting. Here we define when we want this to happen. For example, we're going to ask it to remind us by email 1 day before. Careful here, we can effectively make sure that the meeting is scheduled in the calendar I've created. Then, if you wish, you could add a description to orient Anna's parents with regards to the purpose of the meeting, and could also add a file attachment. Finally, enter the email of Anna's parents. I'm going to add this post for the exercise. I could also change the permissions of my guests. For example, I don't want them to modify the event or be able to invite others. With this done, we can save. Look, I got the invitation. That would be how Anna's parents would receive it. Check that in the event information, the link to join, the phone number, and the PIN appear. And from here, they could accept the meeting, and the event would be saved in their calendar. Since we are in Calendar, I will show you how to book an appointment depending on our availability. This allows us to define an appointment slot. Maybe in the morning we're working, but in the afternoons on certain days we allocate for meetings. Then we stop at Monday and click on Appointment Slot. We make sure to be on the Parent Appointments calendar, click on More Options to see the options better. We name it, in this case, I will write Choose Your Appointment. Here, I define the time slot that I'll have for these appointments, let's say from 4 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. of the same day. Here, I can define if I'll divide those 3.5 hours into smaller slots or if it's only one. In this case, I choose to divide it into slots with durations of 30 minutes each, meaning each parent meeting will last 30 minutes. Does not repeat. In this case, I want it to be repeated every week during the school year, so here you have these options: daily, weekly on Mondays, etc. But I really want to customize it, so I click here and define that it will be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and that these spaces will be repeated every week, and I want them to end the day that the school year ends. And here I select the date, and done. Also, I could define a location if it were face-to-face. In this case, we do not need to, and if I wanted to, I could add a description, and finally click on Save. Now, how do the parents see those gaps we have? So we click on one of the appointment slots that we have in the calendar and click on Go to Appointment page for this calendar. This week, we do not have room for the meetings, but next week, yes. Then copy the URL and mail it to the parents. I'm going to go to my mail, compose, type spaces available for meetings, paste the link here, and click to send. Then each parent would open that link and see which day suits them best and choose their appointment. For example, if I were a parent, I would say, maybe this Friday from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. suits me. Then I choose and save. This confirmation message appears, and that's it. Then immediately, that meeting space disappears, and both the parent and the teacher receive an email saying that there is a meeting that day. It is saved in the calendars, and we see the link to connect through Google Meet. As for the last option, which is to create a classroom with the parents or relatives of our students, we have a video tutorial on HP Online Teaching Assistant where we explain how to set up an online class with Google Classroom and Meet. We invite you to watch it. I'll leave the link here. It is exactly the same, only instead of inviting the students, we would invite the parents. And every classroom we create has its own calendar. Then we could schedule meetings or set the appointment slots, and that's it. That will be all for today. Thank you for watching this video, offered by HP Online Teaching Assistant, an initiative of HP Education.